Jake, where'd you get those boots?
But he's got meat between his ears.
Yeah.
The Nation of Jake on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
All right.
Yes, have some.
Yes, have some. Thursday, January 12th, year of our Lord 2023. And some rain. Rain's going to wind down, but man, it blew through here. Temperatures started dropping some 20 degrees. It'll be freezing overnight with a cold front coming through. We got a report from Mitch on the Rick's Powder Coating text line at 683-0989. There was some crazy hailstorm up near Blue Oval on I-40. I mean, it looked like there was substantial hail raining down. So, look, if you've got any kind of reports of severe weather, flash flooding, anything at all, go ahead and report it on the Rick's Powder Coating text line, and do that anytime of day. There's always somebody in the studio who might have their eye on that, and we could use the information from you. This is a team effort, guys. Appreciate it. All right, I don't know about you, but I keep all my important papers, my most important documents, my vital records in my garage right next to my Jeep. What about you, bud? You're out there, you need something to soak up the oil that's dripping from your transfer case. You just get some really important papers and just slide them on under there, right?
I throw mine on the back porch.
Yeah, just throw them anywhere. Screened in back porch, whatever. Soak them up with some classified documents. Hey, I got that socket set. It's the metric one. Yeah, where is it? It's right under the classified documents over there in my garage. All right, so we got plenty of reaction to the location of the second batch of classified documents in the possession of Joe Biden. The first batch was found at his Biden pen office, which I guess was in D.C. at the Capitol, part of some think tank that took a lot of money from China, so some questions there. And then a second batch. Yesterday on the program, it broke that there was a second batch of documents, right? But they didn't say where the location was. Well, it turns out they were in the garage next to Joe Biden's Corvette. He claims the garage was locked. They were safe and secure there in the garage. All right, we've got plenty on the classified documents situation. Be prepared to hear a lot about it. There is now a special investigator that has been appointed by the Merrick Garland, the Attorney General. So here we are. We've got former President Trump under investigation for the documents at Mar-a-Lago. You've got current President Joe Biden under investigation for mishandling classified documents. What do you guys think? Is this going to be offsetting penalties and then neither one will be charged, or will both be disqualified from running? We're going to talk about the transitive property of Watergate coming up. Also, I want to take some time today to honor some unsung heroes. We've talked about these guys before, the tree trimmers, not just the guys who go and trim the trees around the power lines so that when we get severe weather and we have a lesser chance of branches snapping power lines and losing our electrical service. But also, just the guys who come over, residential areas, you got a tree you don't like so much. Tree trimmers, look, I know it's expensive, but these guys are underpaid. And that doesn't even, look, I'm not even taking into consideration the fact that they often get shaken down by thieves right in the middle of the day. I want to take a moment and honor these men without fear. It's like the real-life daredevil. Watching these guys work is amazing. All right, we'll also get into local headlines, I guess. There's a story out about some carjackers posing as cops. Do we have that to contend with now? Unbelievable. So we'll get some local headlines going. We'll see what's trending in the Twitterverse, and we will also play Name Drop. If you want to get on the list for Name Drop, on the preferred list to be a contestant on Name Drop, then text Name Drop to 683-0989. That's 683-0989. Text the words Name Drop, and we'll play Name Drop coming up at the beginning of hour 3. All right, so we knew this was going to happen. We might as well follow up. The feel-good follow-up to the infuriating story yesterday, the story of Ellie Hughes. Ellie Hughes, 11 years old. She goes to every Grizzlies game, and since she was 5 years old, she's been collecting autographs on her Grizzlies basketball that she herself purchased from the team store right there at the FedEx Forum. Well, that ball was stolen from her. Some low-life scumbags stole her basketball. She put it down for a second to get Ja Morant's attention. When she looked back down, it was gone, and a couple of full-grown adults had stolen it, and they were running up the bleachers. Unbelievable, this story. So, we saw yesterday the power of social media. The story was reported by Walter Murphy over at Action News 5. He posted the story on Twitter knowing that Ja Morant is a huge social media guy. His presence can be felt throughout social media. He's always, tweeting. He's interacting with fans. And so he was looking for the family's information. So you kind of knew what was going to happen. And it was a great scene after the game. The Grizzlies 135-129 win over the Spurs at FedEx Forum. Let's take a listen to a little bit of this. Oh, we don't have this. There's no audio on this one. Oh, this video is great. It's Ja Morant found little Ellie Hughes after the game and hooked her up right with a jersey. I guess he signed the jersey, gave some of the shoes, the Ja shoes you can't get yet. Here we go. Here's a video of Ja Morant with little Ellie Hughes.
Oh yeah. You're the only one outside the fan, other than one person who got those. So happy y'all can come. Hope y'all enjoy it.
I mean, were you shocked? Did you know this was going to happen? I mean,
We didn't know all this was going to happen, did we?
Talk to him.
Talk to
that's
us.
awesome. She's
Are you excited?
Yeah.
You're so nervous you can't even talk right now.
Oh, this little girl, she didn't know what to do. I mean, she was just so happy. She was nervous. She had cameras all in her face. I'm almost certain that she didn't think that she was going to get the VIP treatment from Ja Morant. So she goes from a little girl who just wanted her ball back.
When my grandfather was walking up there to see what was going on, they started walking away, kind of running at like a fast pace. I just want my ball back. I just want the signatures back.
How can you not do something for this little munchkin head girl who had her ball stolen? Oh, Ja Morant's dad, he explains, what happened. These guys they were together and they saw the story. And so here is Ja's father, T. Morant.
With Ja, it's so different because I was actually cutting his hair. He said, Dad, I got to gift this girl because somebody snatched something away from her. So, and this is what you come up with, It's big Memphis. We love Memphis. Memphis.
There you go. T. Morant, who looks just like Usher. Now, I do want to make something very clear here. Ja Morant was under no obligation to do this. I can't imagine, say, if Ja Morant didn't respond, if Ja Morant didn't do this, giving her these shoes, signed jersey after the game, if Ja didn't deliver, there would be people saying, oh, come on, what a jerk. How could he not do that? He was under no obligation to do it. He knows how to play this game. He's doing a lot of great things with social media, with building goodwill about the city. So much goodwill, giving shoes and jerseys to young fans. Look, he keeps this up. He can beat up as many punk-ass 17-year-olds as he wants. I mean, nobody's going to charge Ja Morant with beating up punk-ass 17-year-olds, so he can get away with whatever he wants. You know what would be great? Giving out these shoes that he's got. And look, he gets them from Nike because he's got this big deal. I mean, they just send them the shoes. How much do those shoes cost to make, you think? Bud, the producer, could you do some research on the cost to make Nike shoes? Because he probably just gets them. They probably cost a few bucks to make. They mark them up huge. He just takes them off, and Nike's just going to send him a bunch more. So he can just give them out to everybody. It might be cool, and this would be great. I mean, I think that Ja Morant could pull this off if he donated a lot of those shoes to the young Chinese boys and girls who make them in the Nike sweatshops. I think that would be a great next step as far as building the goodwill for the great Ja Morant. Now, that's a great follow-up on this story. Yesterday, we had a lot of fun talking about what should happen to these guys who stole this little girl's basketball. We got some great suggestions. Some people wanted to go full medieval. Other people were a little more tempered with their punishments. But, yeah, I still hope they find the guys. I hope that Grizzly security is combing through all the security tapes, and they're going to try to find out who these guys were, where they were sitting, and at the very least, Maybe if you don't get the long arm of the law involved here, Steve Mulroy considers this a BS crime, which he probably does. I think that the Memphis Grizzlies should ban these guys for life from the FedEx Forum and then freeze them in carbonite for 30 years. 683-0989. 683-0989. We've got tons to talk about with these classified documents. We heard on Monday there were classified documents. Was it Monday or was it Friday? I don't even remember what it was. So there were classified documents at President Biden's D.C. private office. More classified documents discovered yesterday in the garage next to his Corvette. And yes, a third discovery. More classified documents in the possession of Joe Biden from his time as vice president. We're going to get into this and the transitive property of Watergate. We're going to do this, and we'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, breaking news.
Yes, have some.
This just in from TMZ. Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis and Priscilla Presley, was just at the Golden Globe Awards on Tuesday night in Beverly Hills. She was there on the red carpet seeing Austin Butler win his Golden Globe for his portrayal of the King of Rock and Roll. But today we are learning that Lisa Marie has been rushed to the hospital after EMTs responded to her home for a possible cardiac arrest. Sources directly connected to Lisa Marie tell TMZ paramedics performed CPR on Thursday at her house in Calabasas, California, before rushing to a hospital. We're also told they were able to regain a pulse before she was transported. It's unclear what her condition is at this point, but she's getting treatment at the hospital. Here's an update, though. Lisa Marie Presley went into full arrest. Somebody had to administer epinephrine at the scene at least one time in order to help get Presley to regain a pulse. That is very scary news. Lisa Marie Presley, of course, the daughter of Elvis, just 54 years old. She's got, 3 children, including actress Riley Keough. She owned and operated Elvis Presley Enterprises until 2005 when she sold off all the businesses. This is the rundown of people who may not be familiar with Lisa Marie Presley or exactly the dynamic with her involvement with her father's estate. Well wishes to Lisa Marie Presley. Full cardiac arrest, had to be administered epinephrine. So we will keep an eye on that. That's some breaking news that just came through. So awful to think about. All right. So big news today is that Joe Biden not only had classified documents in his office, this Penn Biden office, this think tank, that he was installed as an honorary professor for University of Pennsylvania after his vice presidency ended. After that term ended, he was, just there pretty much to raise money. And I guess it's kind of like an influence peddling situation there. He's on the payroll over there at Penn. There's a think tank. It's one of those vague and ambiguous things. What do you do? Well, we're a think tank. Well, what do you do exactly? Well, we think is what we do. And we might write some policies, but mostly we just sit around and go out and raise money and grift. So he had some classified documents there. And he said yesterday, well, he didn't know how they got there. He didn't know they were there, and he didn't know what they were. All right, and that's pretty bad. Well, now it comes out that after yesterday's revelation of a second batch of classified documents, that those documents were found in his garage next to his Corvette. And now he is being investigated by a special investigator. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, announced not long ago that he is being investigated. All right, and I'm going to get into the details, and we're going to hear all this audio from President Biden, from Merrick Garland, from Speaker McCarthy, all the reaction. But I just want to pause real quick, and I want to break something down real quick. I call this the transitive property of Watergate. All right, just a year ago or so, when all the Mar-a-Lago news came out, it was like August, I believe, when Merrick Garland announced that there would be an investigation into the classified documents that were kept at Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago was called by many, and you don't have to go far. If you go on social media, you can find tweet after tweet after tweet from the Lincoln Project, from a lot of Democrats, a lot of anti-Trump people saying that the Mar-a-Lago classified documents raid was worse than Watergate, a bigger offense than Watergate. That is Trump keeping classified documents locked in a closet at his residence. There was a dispute over the documents. I believe that the National Archives asked him to put an extra lock on the closet where they were. They said, we want the documents back. There's been a debate over, what documents should be returned, a dispute over these documents. Doesn't it follow that if that is worse than Watergate, that President Biden keeping classified documents in not one but two locations, his Penn Biden office in D.C. and his Wilmington, Delaware garage next to his Corvette, doesn't that warrant a Watergate-like response? So what happened with Watergate? Let's see. I guess the big difference here is that this didn't go down while Trump was president, right? And President Biden took these documents wherever he took them or wherever they ended up when he was vice president or thereafter. But now he is president, and if this is worse than Watergate, mishandling classified documents, and I don't care what anybody says, if classified documents show up in your garage next to your Corvette or in an office and you don't know how they got there, you have mishandled them. It doesn't matter if you knew about it, if you didn't know about it, who found them, who decided they were going to turn them in. If it was worse than Watergate when Donald Trump had these top secret documents at his Mar-a-Lago residence, then isn't it worse than Watergate now that President Biden has these documents in his garage or in his office or God knows where else? All right, I don't think they're done finding these things. So if it's worse than Watergate, just using your same standard, doesn't President Biden have to resign over this? Doesn't he have to get impeached over this? You can draft articles of impeachment over it. I'm thinking yes. I mean, if we're using the same standard, or does Merrick Garland decide after the special investigators, the special counsels do their investigating, that they just say, oh, let's just call a truce, guys, offsetting penalties. Nobody gets in trouble, or the best thing that could happen is both men are disqualified from running for president in 2024. Just that way we don't have a Biden and a Trump thing. That would be fantastic, at least in my personal opinion. All right, but there's so much on this. President Biden is answering questions about this now, or at least he was forced to answer a question by Fox's Peter Doocy. That audio is golden. We're going to take a listen to that. I'm waiting for the White House press briefing. Today, I expect Karine Jean-Pierre's head just to roll right off her body. Because, how she always nodding, she is going to get so flustered today. It's going to be awesome. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't cancel that thing today based on the fact that her little fry kid looking head is going to roll right off her body. All right. 683-0989, the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Let's take a listen to the president try to explain away why the documents were in his garage next to his Corvette. We'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake, News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. 683-0989, the Rick's Powder Coating text line. A few things on the text line. Number one, if you want to get on the preferred list for name drop contestants, you can do that. Just text name drop to 683-0989. The other thing is, weather came through. It rained pretty hard in some places. We got reports of hail. Let us know what you're experiencing. If you got any traffic reports, I hear that things are getting kind of hairy on southbound 240. Right before Covington Pike, they had that shut down for some reason or another. We always like to let people know what is going on out there on the roads. All right. So, yesterday, during the program, there was breaking news that a second batch of classified documents were discovered at a location. We didn't know the location. We knew about the documents that were discovered at the Penn Biden office, the think tank office in D.C. President Biden said something to the effect of, he didn't know they were there. He doesn't know how they got there. He doesn't know what the documents were, and he's been advised not to ask what the documents were. So, yeah, nothing fishy about that. So we knew then about a second batch when it broke yesterday, but we didn't know about the location of it. Well, now we have that. This is from Fox News. More classified documents found in Biden's Delaware garage, White House reveals. White House lawyers say they immediately contacted the DOJ. It's funny. It's funny because when Biden has these kinds of documents, he's allowed to have his lawyers go and handle everything. When Trump has the documents at Mar-a-Lago, he gets raided by the FBI. The FBI didn't show up, before dawn and then bust into Biden's garage, go through his whole house, sniff Jill Biden's panty drawer like they did with Melania. No, completely different situation, completely different accommodations for the sitting president. Here we go. A batch of classified documents was found in the garage of one of the president's Delaware homes. The White House counsel's office searched Biden's 2 residencies in Rehoboth Beach and Wilmington after revelations about a collection of Obama-era classified documents at his think tank in Washington. Biden is facing growing scrutiny for his handling of classified documents, something he takes very seriously. Yeah, because he seriously loves to mishandle classified documents. White House lawyers say they immediately contacted the DOJ when they discovered the documents this week. There's been no indication of what the documents contain or whether Biden or anyone else read them after leaving office as vice president. Lawyers discovered among personal and political papers a small number of additional Obama-Biden administration records with classified markings. All but one of these documents were found in a storage space in the president's Wilmington residence garage. One document consisting of one page was discovered among stored materials in an adjacent room. The White House says no documents were found at the Biden's residence in Rehoboth Beach. Biden's administration has also arranged to deliver the documents over to the DOJ. Biden once offered a glimpse into his Wilmington residence garage in a 2020 campaign ad. And this campaign ad is going around Twitter right now. More on this in a little bit. But he's seen backing his Corvette into the garage. And if you take a screenshot, you can see just like a bunch of garbage or a bunch of stuff, like stacks up in your garage. It's like a lampshade. Looks like maybe a blanket and then maybe a box of documents, ? The Wilmington documents are the second stash of Obama-era classified documents to be uncovered. The first collection, of course, at the Penn Biden Center we know about, and now he's going to be under investigation by a special counsel. So a lot of questions remain. Peter Doocy from Fox News, I think he had the best question. I mean, this is great. He was able to pin down the president, and I guess the president had to answer him.
Okay. Classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
I love it. What were you thinking? Well, I mean, that's a pretty direct question. Let's see how President Biden handles it.
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
Oh, yeah, in a locked garage. Yeah, there's no way anybody could get access to a locked garage. I don't know, maybe the people who live in the house. If you go and you look, there's a screenshot of a license, a driver's license of one Hunter Biden, whose address on his driver's license is the same address of President Joe Biden's Wilmington residence. So you're saying that Hunter Biden, who is known to be irresponsible, misplacing his laptop, sex tapes, all kinds of stuff is out about Hunter Biden. You're saying that Hunter Biden didn't have access to that garage from the inside of the house? Because the garage door, if it's shut and locked, very difficult to get into. But if you're inside the house, there's some sort of door from a kitchen into the garage. And there's access from inside the house. From time to time, I'm sure that Corvette gets taken out and driven. He probably has somebody to do it every now and again. You don't want an old classic Corvette. Bud, what did you say the Corvette model was? What year?
The 67 Stingray.
67 Stingray. You got to drive that thing from time to time. You can't just have it sitting there, right? He probably has somebody coming over and driving it from time. You have to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to at least run it so you don't dry the seals out.
Yeah. So look, I mean, that is my garage is locked, by the way. The National Archives was instructing Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago in a closet at his residence to add an extra lock to it for extra security. Meanwhile, the president, who has documents from his time as vice president, so he doesn't have the same security clearances or power to declassify, he has them in his garage at his house.
Anyway,
Was it a locked garage?
yes, as well as my Corvette.
I keep my Corvette locked up in a locked garage. All right.
But as I said earlier this week, people know I take classified documents and classified material seriously.
Yes, he seriously takes it seriously as you have been forced to take it seriously, to paraphrase Kamala Harris. Yeah, I take classified documents very seriously. I take them very seriously to my think tank office, and I take them to my garage. Seriously.
I also said we're cooperating fully and completely with the Justice Department's review. As part of that process, my lawyers reviewed other places where documents from my time as vice president were stored, and they finished the review last night. They discovered a small number of documents of classified markings in storage areas and file cabinets in my home and my personal library. This was done in the case of the Biden-Pence. This was done in the case of the Biden-Pence.
He can't even get through this statement. You know, he's reading from a statement, right? And Peter Doocy kind of threw him off with the "what were you thinking" question. So he's flustered and he's mad. He's embarrassed. And so he can't, his stutter shows up all of a sudden. You know, I was watching all those clips the other day when we were talking about how many lies Biden told back in 1988 when he got busted for plagiarizing and lying about his graduating top of his class in law school and all that. I didn't hear that guy stutter one time.
Penn Center, the Department of Justice was immediately, as was done, the Department of Justice was immediately notified, and the lawyers arranged for the Department of Justice to take possession of the document. So we're going to see all this unfold. I'm confident.
And then his brain melts down right there. This guy has no idea what's going on. He knew why he took those documents where he took them, but he has since forgotten. I'm almost certain that is what has happened here. So, yeah, I don't buy any of this stuff about, we don't know how they got there. You know, I mean, people, of course, supporters of President Biden, they're not losing their minds or anything. I think Hank Johnson is a congressman from Georgia. He's already saying that the Republicans planted this there, that it was planted there. You know, the geniuses, the super think tank at The View, they are 100% melting down about it.
You know what I think? I've never seen a luckier person than Donald Trump. Just as we're this close to getting him, but somehow these documents appear.
But here's the thing, Biden.
Yeah, she's obviously 100% implying that these documents appear as if they were planted there by evil Republicans.
And it is wrong to have done this. He was in office for 40 years.
Let's find out what this is first. Now, again, one of the things that gets me crazy is before we know, it's already been spun a specific way.
Oh, yeah, let's be calm and wait for the facts, which is exactly the MO of the Harpies on The View.
I don't want to see that. I want to see someone explain to me, A, how it's possible that after all this time, nobody knew this? Because to me, if you're missing classified information, I don't mean to laugh, but in my house, if stuff is missing, I know it's missing.
Does it feel like
yeah, because you ate it.
Research to you, does it feel like the Republicans are behind it?
It's not.
It did originally, but I'm sorry, but not now. Because one of the things he's saying is that some of the locations where the docs may have been shipped in the transition may have gotten taken and put.
But plus, how could Republicans have gotten into the locked garage, you guys? How in the world? I mean, he has it on lockdown. That's where his Corvette is, you guys. So, yeah, so now he is under investigation. So you got Trump and Biden. They're both under investigation for the same thing. So what do you think? Is this offsetting penalties? I think it's more serious in the case of President Joe Biden. Number one, he is the president. It's not like he was the president and after the fact there's a documents dispute, he's the sitting president who has mishandled these documents, and he has classified top secret information from when he was vice president. I mean, he hasn't been vice president in a long time. It was 2015, was last year that he was vice president. So we're talking about, I'm going to carry the one, seven-ish years since Joe Biden was vice president. 08 to 16, correct? 16 to 23. That's 7 years. He hasn't been vice president. And even when he was vice president, he did not have the kind of clearances and the power to declassify these top secret documents as the president did. So this is way worse, I think. I think of Mar-a-Lago as a power move, a power flex. You have Donald Trump disputing over, how he's going to return the documents, what documents he's going to return. I mean, at the very least, Donald Trump was lucid enough to know that he had documents. He knew where they were. And he said he was negotiating with the National Archives. As far as mishandling documents, I mean, if you find classified documents in your office, in your garage, I don't know. I think that the last document they found, I heard a rumor, this is not confirmed, that they actually found that third stash of documents. It was only like 2 or 3 of them, that it was wedged between the refrigerator and the cabinet, down at the bottom, because it was being held onto the refrigerator with a magnet that had a photo of Hunter when he was in first grade on it, on the side of the fridge. And it just, somebody moved it around, and it kind of fell. This is unbelievable. It really is. So there's plenty more to get into here. The AG, Attorney General Merrick Garland, he made the announcement that he has appointed a special counsel to handle the whole deal. So we'll get into that. I also want to keep an eye out for the White House press briefing today. Can you imagine what's going to happen today? I don't know if you saw yesterday, there was a dust-up between Karine Jean-Pierre and a reporter. They had a little bit of an argument over the roles. Is the White House press secretary and the White House press corps. This is great.
I want to be prudent here. I want to make sure that we do this in the appropriate way.
We're going to ask them because that's our job.
I understand, and my job is to answer your questions. So here we go. Let's go.
We asked this is because on day 2 of this administration, when he swore all of you in, the president said, quote, "I'm going to make mistakes. When I make them, I'll acknowledge them, and I'll tell you, and I'll need your help to help me correct them." So you're the one here talking to us about this. That's why we're asking you. So let's just remember that. When he was asked yesterday,
Ed, we don't need to have this. We work very well together. We don't need to have this kind of confrontation. Ask your question, and I will answer them the best that I can.
Part of the reason we're laying that out is because you're laying out your part of the job. We're laying out our part of the job.
I know, but I'm just saying that we don't need to have contention. We don't need to be contentious with me here, Ed.
The president was asked yesterday, but did not answer this part of the question. Why didn't he or someone in the White House inform the American people when these documents were discovered on November 2nd? Did it have anything to do, because people are asking this part of it, did it have anything to do with the fact that the election was just a few days away?
Again, Ed, this is under review by the Department of Justice.
So she's not going to answer anything today. She's going to say, I can't comment on that. It's under investigation. That's my look. I'm going to look for the clips. We'll get into the clips as they make themselves available. All right. We got some local headlines coming up. Top news here. You got people posing as cops and then jacking people. Carjackers posing as police officers. Also, the news that broke not long ago that Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley, has reportedly suffered cardiac arrest, had to be administered epinephrine to get her back online with a pulse. We will see if there's any updates there. So local headlines coming your way. I also want to give some love, some shout outs. I want to honor the great tree trimmers. Oh man, I had some trees trimmed and I sat out and I watched this guy. I could not believe what I saw. I saw a man with no fear. I'll talk about that next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, so I do have a clip from the White House press briefing just moments ago.
Yes, have some.
Karine Jean-Pierre, I guess she is reading from some sort of some sort of prepared statement with regards to these classified documents. Look, they found the documents at his private Penn Biden office, and then they found more in his garage, but it was okay because the garage was locked, adhering to the Corvette standard. You know, you're not just going to put your Corvette in an unlocked garage. They were near something of value, like a, Bud, you would say 67 Corvette Stingray?
Yes, 67.
67, I mean, that's in its cherry condition. More on the Corvette itself in a little bit. I mean, who's going to leave their Corvette in an unlocked garage? I mean, as long as it's near the Corvette, I don't know what the exact distance is that the classified documents have to be with regards to the vehicle that's being protected by the lock on the door. But the Corvette standard, from what I understand, is not acceptable in the eyes of the law. So we've got Karine Jean-Pierre, for a second day in a row, has really no idea what to say other than to stick with the script here.
Things, and make sure that everyone saw this. It's a statement from Richard Sauber. His statement reads, as the president said, he takes classified information and materials seriously. And as we have said, we have cooperated from the moment we informed the archives that a small number of documents were found, and we will continue to cooperate. We have cooperated closely with the Justice Department throughout its review, and we will continue that cooperation with the special counsel. We are confident that a thorough review will show that these documents were inadvertently misplaced, and the president and his lawyers acted promptly upon discovering of this mistake.
Okay, hey, let's do a little bit of etymology here, the study of words. I love words. I love to do a crossword. I love the origin of certain words. I also see patterns in words. You know, and you might too. You know, when you read, you see words that Karine Jean-Pierre read there from that statement. One of the words she used was misplaced. She said, we are confident that a thorough review will show that these classified documents were inadvertently misplaced. Misplaced. All right. Let's keep that in mind. And the president and his lawyers acted promptly upon discovering this mistake. Miss. What other words start with miss? Miss Piggy? Yes. Not exactly what we're looking for. Mishandle. That's right. Mishandling of classified info. That is, and again, it doesn't matter. Oh, look, how about this? Misfeasance. How about that's a good one, too. It's all part of the same thing. I don't care if they meant to put them in the garage with the Corvette. I don't care what the intention was. Misplacing classified documents, making this kind of mistake is misfeasance, and it qualifies as mishandling. I don't care how seriously the president takes it. None of that matters. Like that whole preface was, well, you know, the president takes this very seriously. It's like, big deal. Okay, clearly not. Clearly not. Because he's so careless, reckless, you say irresponsible. You know, that's what he was saying the other day or months ago with Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes. All right. So more on this, I'm sure. We will find out like the official timeline of when they found the documents and who's this guy who's going to be the special counsel. I do want to give shout outs, man, to these tree trimmers. You know, we talk about tree trimmers getting shaken down when they're doing work in Memphis sometimes, you know, East Memphis in the middle of the day. I had some trees trimmed, guys. It doesn't matter. Pay the men to do it. If you need it done, pay them what they want. I paid $2,000 for some guys to come trim a tree, and I looked up at I said, I'm getting the deal here. Good Lord, you couldn't pay me $1 million to go walk around in the treetops like these dudes. So hats off to you, tree trimmers. Love you guys. All right, coming up, some local headlines. Carjackers posing as cops. It's just what we need. All right, welcome back to it.
Yes, have some.
Yeah, the Nation of Jake, News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Get on our preferred list for Name Drop. If you want to play coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour during hour number 3, the third shift, text the words Name Drop to 683-0989. That's the Rick's Powder Coating text line, 683-0989. 98.9. In a little bit, we'll see what is trending in the Twitterverse. One thing that is trending is Joe Biden's Corvette. This was an amazing exchange. Today, Peter Doocy, I don't know where this was. This was not a press briefing, but Peter Doocy from Fox News, who's pretty much the only guy who holds the president and Karine Jean-Pierre to account. He's the only guy who asks the hard questions. He made the president big mad this morning when asking about these documents that were found in his garage next to the Corvette. And I think we need to take a listen to the question and the answer by the president real quick.
Mr. President,
Okay.
classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street. But at any rate,
was in a locked garage.
Yes, as well as my Corvette.
All right, so right then, he's talking about, his Corvette. I mean, it's something that he values, obviously. It's a 67 Corvette Stingray. It's in mint condition, it looks like. And so this guy said it was in the locked garage with my Corvette, as if the security for his classic car is sufficient for classified documents. So he's getting dragged about this Corvette standard, and I had it a minute ago, and I'm looking for it, and oh man, I hope I can find it again. Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about this Corvette standard. I mean, somebody was asking her about, he seemed to bring up his Corvette as if to say that, the security for his Corvette is sufficient for these top secret documents. And oh man, again, her head just kind of here it is. Yes, I found it. This is great.
Minister of Netherlands, I just want to say a couple of things and make sure that everyone saw this. It's a statement from Richard Sauber. His statement.
Well, okay, we heard this earlier. There's a follow-up question about the Corvette deal, and it's hilarious to think that this guy is he serious about the Corvette deal? I mean, I guess it's because Peter Doocy didn't he referenced the Corvette. So I guess President Biden in kind is going to also reference the Corvette. But the clip, here we go. I think that the clip I'm looking for, and I can't find. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to look for it. It's great. Maybe we'll get to it in the Twitterverse, as Biden's Corvette is one of the top trending topics of the day. All right. So coming up in a little bit, we are not only going to do the Twitterverse, we're going to play Name Drop. We're also going to talk to Ron Hart today. I also want to talk more about this gas stove ban. Like, all of a sudden, we went from people not really, giving too much thought to their stove to the gas stove is now the new litmus test. Like, if you don't have a gas stove now, you're a communist. And I'm worried about that because I don't have a gas stove. But I never made a conscious choice. I bought a house that had an electric cooktop, and now I'm thinking to myself, man, I need to go get one of these gas stoves. But it's interesting how something like this that comes up, you've got some federal agencies who are looking into the possibility of banning gas stoves. And then when people push back and say, no, we don't want that kind of government overreach, now they're the ones who are making the gas stove the center of some culture war. It's an amazing phenomenon. You're going to have people who are Democrats.
3-minute stations, 3 minutes to your next Fox.
They are going to start switching out their stoves for the very same reason. It's pretty amazing. So we're going to talk about that as well, and also emotional support animals. Where are you on these? Are there emotional support animals that you fully support, like in kind, or are there? Where do you draw the line? I should say, on emotional support animals. These are all things we're going to talk about. Very, very serious topics in the nation of Jake, as well as the classified documents in the garage, and in the thing, just the mishandling of documents that the president takes very seriously. All right, 683-0989, 683-0989. That is the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Anything you got for me, send it on over. Coming up next, we are going to see what is trending in the Twitterverse, so keep it right here in the Nation of Jake. I'll be careful.
Yes, have some.
Nah, if Dr. Dre finds out that I'm using this as bumper music, he might get upset. It's okay, we're covered. We have a music license here. I hope that Dr. Dre would be okay with me using Still Dre as bumper music in the Nation of Jake on News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis, 683-0989. If you want to get on our list for name drop, go ahead and text name drop to 683-0989. All right, coming up in a little bit, we will play name drop. We'll also talk to Ron Hartz, and I want to get your thoughts on emotional support animals. What are the acceptable emotional support animals? I'm thinking dogs are pretty good. I'm thinking maybe a chinchilla, maybe a ferret. I mean, what do you think? Or are you over this whole thing? Sometimes I think there was all these stories coming out. A lady wanted to bring a pony onto an airplane because it was her emotional support animal. I understand a seeing eye dog. I understand if you are, somebody who suffers from documented post-traumatic stress disorder or some other kind of condition where having an animal nearby does help with, therapeutics. I get it. But some people, I think, they're just using it as excuses to taking their pets wherever they want to go. And I'm coming around on this a little bit more, with all the crime that's going on throughout Memphis and the Mid-South. I'm fine with people, bringing a mean old hound around, man. Just get your mean old hound and get your watchdog like on your person at all times for personal protection. All right. But where do you draw the line with emotional support animals? We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit as well. 683-0989, the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Let's see what is trending in the Twitterverse.
Masters of the Twitterverse.
All right, these are trending topics, viral stories, viral videos. You can follow me on Twitter at Nation of Jake. A lot of the stuff I find, I will either retweet or quote tweet, comment on, and that way you can check it out for yourself. So at Nation of Jake, that's how you follow the program. Bud, the producer, is always along for the ride. And so he is also on Twitter at Bud Motormouth. All right, today, as you would imagine, with the news that President Biden has a second stash of classified documents. All right, we got this news yesterday, but we didn't know the location of the second stash of documents. Turns out it was in his garage next to his Corvette. And so that is the detail from today's news that is trending. Not the special counsel that's been appointed. More on that in a little bit. Also, we went over it earlier, the transitive property of Watergate. There are thousands of tweets throughout the whole classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and the FBI raid comparing that to Watergate. And I guess it's because there was, a raid. But with regards to having classified documents, the level of scandal, a lot of people on Twitter, you look back a year or so ago, they were saying that it's worse than Watergate. And if this is along the same lines, mishandling classified documents, wouldn't that make this as bad or worse than Watergate? And we know what happens when you get embroiled in a scandal to the level of Watergate, right? And President Joe Biden, he's got to resign or be impeached. There's no other way around it. But the Corvette is what's trending. Biden's Corvette is the trending topic. Now, there are videos here online of Joe Biden's Corvette. Bud, you've seen the Corvette. What's it look like? A dark green 1967 Corvette Stingray. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually I went back and I found this video when Jay Leno's garage had him on. They went and met at I think it was Quantico, but he met him at a military base, and Biden got to drive it for the first time, and he only got to drive it like 3 times over 7 years.
All right, well, cool.
I got some video from that.
Oh, you got the audio from it?
Yeah,
let's take a listen.
And some of the most important people in the world catch car fever. And that's definitely the case with our own vice president. I'm here at a Secret Service training facility outside Washington, D.C. to learn about the only vehicle he ever loved. He's always loved cars, but vice presidents are not allowed to drive during their term, and for at least 6 months after that.
I owe you big. You realize it's only the 3rd time I'm getting to drive this in 7 years? Secret Service doesn't let me.
So tell us a story of what made you buy a Corvette.
I was getting married in August of '67.
And he goes on. It was a wedding gift from his father. Who he said his father didn't have a lot of money, but he ran a Chevy dealership. So, but the original MSRP on this thing was only like $5,600.
That's amazing, isn't it? $5,600. I mean, that was a lot of money back then, but it's not like, it is now. I mean, what is this vehicle worth now, bud?
That's tough to say. At the time this video was made, about 6-7 years ago, he said $78,000. But when COVID hit, there was this huge bubble of classic cars where all their values went up. I was watching all the auctions, and a lot of these cars were selling for absurd prices. I saw Kevin Hart spend $780,000 on a similar one. It wasn't original, though. It was totally decked out by like a really prolific customs garage. So I don't know if that's comparable, but it's probably at least $150K.
Man, so $78,000.
And that's before you consider it's owned by the president. I mean, like,
correct,
regardless of what you think about Joe Biden, that car.
Well, and then with the inflation that was caused by Joe Biden, we can reasonably assume that he has increased the value of his car on his own, and by virtue of having owned it. But you're right. The president's '67 Stingray. I mean, this thing is in mint condition. It's been kept locked in a garage that's secure enough for classified documents. What's great is there's a campaign video of Joe Biden backing this thing into his garage. And if you get the still shot, and this is something that is trending online as well, you can see there's like a big stack of boxes, lampshades. You can see where it could possibly have been the classified documents in question in this video. Pretty amazing. This whole story is pretty amazing. And just the clip with Peter Doocy asking him about it. Next to your Corvette in your garage, what were you thinking? And oh man, he didn't like it. Oh dude, we'll listen to that clip in a little bit as well. But man, he did not like the way that Peter Doocy asked that question. All right. Now, other than Joe Biden's Corvette, what is trending in the Twitterverse? Bud, what you got?
I still got some more stuff, but no, I'll leave the Corvette alone for now. But I do have some heartwarming stuff. You remember Data from the Goonies, Short Round?
Oh, yeah.
Ki-Hugh Kwan. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but...
Mr. Kwan.
Mr. Kwan. I didn't realize...
Short Round, you mean? I just call him Short Round.
Yeah, Short Round. I call him Data. That's how I always remember him.
You cheat, Dr. Jones.
Yeah. He won a Golden Globe for Everything Everywhere All at Once for Best Supporting Actor, and I just got a little clip. This is just some heartwarming stuff. He's really great when he accepted the award.
Wow. Thank you so much. I was raised to never forget where I came from and to always remember who gave me my first opportunity. I am so happy to see Steven Spielberg here tonight. Steven, thank you.
His speech went on a little bit longer, but I just thought that was great. He's doing great. I looked at his IMDb. He had like a big gap where he wasn't working, so it's
that's the thing. I mean, when you're a child actor, we've talked about this before. It's kind of difficult to kind of jump into the world of being an actual serious adult actor. I mean, you look at guys like Haley Joel Osment; they've made appearances here and there, but as far as being a steady working actor, I mean, he was known as Short Round, and to a lesser degree, he was Data from the Goonies. And I think Short Round was this guy's biggest role.
Yeah, that or Goonies. It's hard. I guess it would be hard to say either. Both of those.
No, for me, it's got to be Shorty, man. Yeah. He was Short Round, and then later
that was
in the
first.
Goonies.
That was his first job. So, he had a big gap where he wasn't doing a whole lot. Apparently, he was in Encino Man. I didn't realize that, but it's kind of funny you mentioned Haley Joel Osment because he was just on The Boys very briefly.
Yeah, right. But that's what he's done. He's getting work, just here and there. I mean, it's that's pretty cool though. But he'll always be Short Round, and a lot of people want to look back at the Temple of Doom, and they want to say that Steven Spielberg and that whole character of Short Round was racist because of his accent. But listening to him, it's how the kid talks. That's how he sounds.
Right.
So, cool. Speaking of movies, did you see this? Passion of the Christ 2 was trending earlier. It's got a lot of people scratching their heads. I mean, I know there's probably more to the story you could tell. Is this going to be a resurrection movie? Is it going to be Passion of the Christ 2, Resurrection? I really think that's the only way you can go with it, right?
Well, I mean, Family Guy did this. Family Guy did this.
Is that right?
Yeah. Here.
Okay.
Chris Tucker and Jim Caviezel, is that it? The guy from the first one? Passion of the Christ 2. Crucify this.
Yeah, so it's basically an action movie.
Yeah, kind of like in UHF they did Gandhi 2. It's an easy gig. It's an easy gig there for the guys at Family Guy. But yeah, I guess, look, if Mel Gibson is going to make Passion of the Christ 2, I remember when Passion of the Christ came out. I've not seen it in its entirety, but it was a big movie. It had a huge built-in audience. People were going to go to it. It was hard to watch in parts. It was very graphic, but I think that was the point. It was to show you what Jesus went through, and it really showed you the man suffered for our sins. But they could make, Mel Gibson and the producers of Passion of the Christ, if they could make an entire series of biblical movies, they can go back and do, from the makers of Passion of the Christ, Genesis, and they could do the book of Genesis. If they can do them and do them well, you could really open up the audience for these biblical stories, I think. I
want to see that scene where, who is the strong guy? Samson with the hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he killed the tiger or lion with his bare hands or something. Wasn't that in there?
Sure. Oh, dude, I think Deuteronomy, Where's My Car would be a good one. That'd be fun. There's probably a lot of really cool movie stuff in Leviticus that you could do. Just the word Leviticus. That sounds pretty metal to me. All right, what else is trending? Bud, what do you have?
Well, if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, the Season 3 trailer is going to be released during the ESPN NFL Super Wildcard game, January 16th.
Amazing. It's amazing what they do with trailers now. Like, the trailer is supposed to announce to you that the movie's coming, but now there are promos for the trailer to be debuted during some sporting event so you can get a look at the upcoming. There's a trailer for the trailer. It's wild how films and TV shows like this are now being promoted. We saw this with Ant-Man Quantumania. They're like, get a glimpse at Ant-Man Quantumania during the national championship game between Georgia and TCU. The full trailer coming in the third quarter.
They got to get everyone aboard that hype train, man. It's all they got,
That's what you have to do.
I do want to respond to this. Dirt Dog reached out on the Rick's Powder Coating text line and said that over here at the Edge Museum, a similar Corvette to that 67 Stingray just sold for $250,000.
Good God, $250,000. So where do you think that puts Joe Biden's Corvette at?
Like with him having owned it, probably more than that. 300 maybe. I mean, it's very original. I know the engine's been rebuilt. He said that in the Jay Leno clip.
Yeah, you know what? I read about Hunter Biden had the engine rebuilt for him.
Right.
Which means, I think it was a surprise, which means Hunter Biden had access to that garage where the Corvette was right next to the documents. So,
intriguing.
All right. The last thing I have, and, I was wondering if I should even play this. This is a excerpt from Prince Harry's book, Spare. All right, this is Prince Harry. He sat down, he did the audiobook, so you get to hear his voice. He tells the story. Remember we talked about it the other day about when his wiener got frostbitten? He talks a little bit about having a frostbitten todger. That's what the English folk call it. And this gets really awkward really fast.
My penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive and borderline traumatized. The last place I wanted to be was Frostnipistan. I'd been trying some home remedies, including one recommended by a friend. She'd urged me to apply Elizabeth Arden cream. My mum used that on her lips. You want me to put that on my todger? It works, Harry. Trust me. I found a tube, and the minute I opened it, the smell transported me through time. I felt as if my mother was right there in the room. Then I took a smidge and applied it down there.
All right, I'm no Sigmund Freud. All right, but if I had to lay Harry down on the couch, I would diagnose him with a bit of an Oedipal complex. The dude is talking about using this cream on his nether regions, and immediately he's reminded of his mother's lips. That is a very odd thing to write in a book. That is a very odd experience to share with other people. If those thoughts ever cross my mind, I would lock them away in a drawer. I would never, ever, 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 ever tell anybody about that. Ever. Harry, you got to go lay down on the couch find your own Sigmund Freud, because they're going to diagnose you with the Oedipal complex, like Bill had from Bill and Ted. All right, 683-0989, 683-0989. I know it's coming. I'm already getting the hate mail from people on the Rick's Powder Coating text line about emotional support animals. I am not against emotional support animals. I just am skeptical about what some people claim are emotional support animals, and I have a story to prove it. I'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right. So look, emotional support animals, I'm not into it. Maybe you are. It's not something that I have sought out to support me emotionally. I already have people on the text line, Livy, on the text line. Emotional support animals are very important, and they serve a great purpose. However, the problem comes when people pass their normal untrained pet as an ESA. That's when the problems happen. Okay, I agree. You know what? I read the first half of that, and then I clicked on the entire text. So Livy's with me here. All right, look, I have been on planes before, and people are bringing their ESA, their emotional support animal, onto a plane, and it doesn't really seem like they really need it for emotional support. It just seems like they didn't want to pay to have it kenneled and put down below. And I get it, but that's how you're supposed to travel with your animal, is your animal goes down below. So I've seen people with emotional support dogs. I've seen people with emotional support cats. I've seen people with ferrets and stuff, small animals that they can carry around. This one, though, I'm not sure, guys. What do you think? We need a ruling here. The emotional support skunk. Here we have it. A Knox County, Indiana dispatcher goes about her normal day accompanied by a special friend, a skunk. So she takes it to work. Nugget the skunk has been part of a Knox County dispatch team as an emotional support animal for about 7 months. His owner, Heather Blaney, has had him for over 2 years. She said she would describe him as calm, sweet, and odorless. Domestic skunks in Indiana have to be descented before you even get them. They're descented around 3 weeks of age. Is that right to do to a skunk? To have a skunk descented? I mean, aren't you really cutting that skunk off from ever living free ever again? You can't have a skunk go run free again ever. Like, it is domesticated then for life, and so you have to take care of it. So I don't know if I agree with descenting skunks. I know people who will not declaw cats. My wife is one of them. We have a cat, Frankie the cat, been around for 20 years, maybe 20 plus years. I'm going for that record now. I don't want the cat to die because I want a record setting cat for the oldest geriatric cat in all of the land. But my wife won't let me get Frankie the cat declawed, and I don't know why, because now Frankie has ruined all of my stuff. Now we have this nice woman, Heather. She adopted Nugget from the Indiana Skunk Rescue and has 6 more skunks at home as well. Blaney said what started the journey was when her daughter brought Nugget home. Since then, Nugget has become a work favorite. When he is not eating his favorite snack, which is Cheez-Its, he is either lying on someone's lap or sniffing around for attention. See, this is one of those ones where I have to question. Is this an emotional support skunk, or is this just a skunk that she likes to take to work because it's fun and does tricks and eats Cheez-Its and hangs out? Because she has 6 of them. I mean, what kind of emotions do you have? Do you have to have one emotional support animal for every emotion that you experience? Look, I'm new to all this, but I know I've seen people try to bring ponies, iguanas, bearded lizards or whatever. I've got like somebody had an emotional support kangaroo one time. I've read about an emotional support kangaroo, but I've also seen kangaroos beat people up. Let's see, the bearded dragons. Yeah, emotional support lizards. I do like pigs as pets. We have a friend of the program, Rufus, the prognosticating pig. This pig who, he'll choose the winner of the Super Bowl or something like that. He chose the winner of the 2016 election at an event that we did, a little pancake antisocial that Ditch and I did, and Rufus correctly picked that Donald Trump would win the 2016 election. I don't know that Rufus himself is an emotional support animal. I know that the pig, though, lives like a king. I mean, he's he's got everything he wants. He eats what he wants. He gets transported around in like a little buggy. He's like King Rufus. So I don't know, man. This skunk thing, I'm skeptical of the whole emotional support animal deal. Look, when people, the ones who abuse it, and I agree, Livy on the text line, thank you, 683-0989. It's when people abuse it. There are legitimate reasons to have an emotional support animal, I'd imagine, but it's when people want to just take their pets to work and use it as an excuse. All right, name drop's coming up. If you want to get on the list, text name drop to 683-0989, and we will play the game, and we'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake.
DJ, he's been a good dog.
What, named after the dog?
The Nation of Jake on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
All right, welcome to the third shift.
Yes, have some.
Hour number 3 of the Nation of Jake starts now on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. 683-0989, 683-0989. Look, this is not a new name drop law. I had friend of the program, Blind Barry. He wanted some clarification on the new name drop law. Well, that's a little bit strong. It's not a law. We are offering you the opportunity to get on a list to be a contestant for name drop. You can still call right now, 683-0989, 683-0989 for a chance to play. But we also like to give you the option, say if you are someone who listens in hour number 1 and then you come back for hour number 3 and you want to play name drop, then we will make it easy to get in contact with us to be a contestant. So just letting you know. Coming up in a little bit, we will talk to Ron Hart. He has a nationally syndicated column, and we'll talk to him about what he is writing about this week, but also, of course, we're going to talk classified documents. That's right. Another stash of classified documents have been found, this time in Joe Biden's garage next to his Corvette. Now, he says his Corvette is very valuable. It's very expensive. What do we determine? It's probably worth 6 figures. It could be worth $100,000, maybe even $250,000. And so he keeps it locked up tight. And so the security for his Corvette should be good enough for the classified documents. That's kind of like where we are right now with this. We'll get into it with Ron. If mishandling documents was worse than Watergate, if this disqualifies somebody like Donald Trump from running for president, and if Joe Biden is doing the same thing, what's going to happen? And of course, all the stories about this are going to be like, this is a big headache for Joe Biden. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope his headache gets better. It's a situation of his own making. We'll talk to Ron Hart about that. Also, this whole gas stove thing, it's become the symbol for which side are you on. And again, it's the side of freedom or regulation. But this gas stove has become a symbol. In fact, they're making flags with gas stoves on them now. It's pretty wild. We'll talk about gas versus electric coming up in a bit. Also, this local story where we have men impersonating the police or carjacking people. That's just what we need. Without further ado, let's get this game going.
Shall we play a game?
What's your name, dude?
Nation of Jake's 4 o'clock name drop.
Drop!
On News Talk 98.9.
All right, I do believe we've got the great Trill Bill, I believe, on the line as our contestant. What's up, Bill?
Not much, Jake. What's going on?
Just kicking it here on this here Thursday. How's the weather where you are?
It's sprinkling, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it was wild earlier. I saw some photos. Mitch sent some photos over, some hail up by Blue Oval City. So I know it was a mess earlier, but really it was a front blowing through. It's going to cool off for a few days, and I'm down for it. Hey, Bill, you ever played Name Drop with us before?
Yeah, I tried it once, but I didn't get it.
Okay, all right. Well, you're 0 for 1. Let's even up that score here. I've got an audio clip for you. I'm going to play the audio clip. At the end of the clip, you identify who's speaking by dropping their name. Easy enough if you know the rules. Are you ready, Bill?
I am ready.
Here we go.
I concluded that under the special counsel regulations, it was in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. In the days since, while Mr. Lausch continued the investigation, the department identified Mr. Hur for appointment as special counsel. This morning, President Biden's personal counsel called Mr. Lausch and stated that an additional document bearing classification markings was identified at the president's personal residence in Wilmington, Delaware.
All right, Trill Bill, drop that name.
I'm going to go with A.G. Merrick Garland.
That's right. Not only that's a perfect answer, Trill Bill, because not only did you give me his name, you gave me his title as well. The Attorney General, A.G. Merrick Garland, announcing a little while ago he is named a special counsel to now investigate the president. So we've got dueling investigations here. Now, Trill Bill, what do you think? Do you think this is going to be like offsetting penalties? They're going to find no harm, no foul in either case, and both guys are free and clear? Or do you think they'll take both Donald Trump down and take President Biden down, and neither of them can run in 2024? What would you like to see happen here?
There's the two different things, what I like to see and what will happen probably.
I think what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it's just all for show. I feel like he had no choice but to do it. I think nothing's going to come of it for sure.
Okay.
What I would like to see would be a different story.
Well, yeah, I mean, what you would like to see is the standard applied equally. To be honest with you, man, all these people, like, you know, when this first broke that he had classified documents at his office, you know, CNN and the like were circling the wagons saying this is way different than Donald Trump. The way that I looked at it, and you may have been listening earlier when I was talking about it, Bill, is that we have a situation with Trump. It is very different. Donald Trump is in a dispute with the National Archives as to what he is allowed to keep and what he's going to turn over. And they were very aggressive when they went in with the FBI. And so it was very different the way that Donald Trump is being treated because of the situation, because there's somewhat of a dispute. In the case of President Biden having these classified documents, all I'm hearing is that he didn't know they were there. He doesn't know how they got there. He doesn't know what's in the documents. They're in a garage with his Corvette that's locked. That it's like total mishandling of the documents. And here's the thing about classified documents, to my understanding, Bill, and anybody out there, feel free to school me on this. It doesn't matter if you meant to. If you accidentally took home classified documents, if you're a rank and file dude, then it doesn't matter. You don't get your security clearance back. You get fired. You get fired and you might go to jail. So they always talk, Bill, about how nobody's above the law, but clearly some people are above the law. I mean, that's pretty clear to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you vote blue, it seems like he doesn't know a whole lot of anything.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Bill.
I'm even hearing some top Democrats are saying that they're saying it might have been planted evidence. Some of the Democrats now they're circling the wagons. So there's.
Oh man, if you've got Hank Johnson from Georgia, the congressman who thought that Guam was going to tip over if too many Marines went on it, he's saying that this evidence could have been planted. All the super geniuses at The View are saying that this is fishy. You got the super genius Joy Behar. She's implying that the evidence was planted. They lost their minds today on The View. They cannot believe what is happening. Which again, I don't put a lot of stock in. The political savvy of the cast members of The View. But man, this is going to be presented as a headache for Joe Biden. This is something, Bill, that is happening to him. It's because the media cannot call out their own guy. This is something that's happening to him. This is something that a storm that he is going to have to weather. It is never of his own making. We saw it with Afghanistan. Afghanistan is going to present problems for Joe Biden's, midterm or his reelection. Or inflation continues to be a problem for Joe Biden. And it's like, no, inflation is a problem for us. It's not a problem for Joe Biden. It is of his making. This is the latest thing. You're going to see it. The headlines are going to be, Joe Biden. Those classified documents, headache for Joe Biden. And it's ridiculous. And the double standard is obscene. All right. Trill Bill, congratulations. You're going to the circus, the Alchemia Shrine Circus, February 16th to the 19th at the Agri Center. You got 4 tickets, my man. Appreciate you playing.
All right.
There you go.
Appreciate you.
Trill Bill, friend of the program, always active on the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Hey, by the way, I found that clip, the clips of Karine Jean-Pierre in the White House press briefing when they were asking her about, a lot of this stuff going on. The one I definitely wanted to get to was the question about the Corvette in the garage. Joe Biden, when asked by Peter Doocy, what were you thinking with classified documents next to your Corvette in your garage? And he responded by saying, well, my garage is locked. My Corvette is in there. And so Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about that exchange.
What was the president trying to say when he referenced his Corvette earlier today? Because it sounded like he was implying that because his garage is a safe place for his car, the documents were safe. And therefore, if it was safe for the car, it was safe for the documents. Is that what he meant?
Look, I'm going to just leave his statement as is. I think your colleagues was having a back and forth with the president. You can read the transcript of what was asked of him and why he responded that way. I'm just not going to get into specifics.
I'm not going to get into it because I can't explain away those idiotic comments by the president. I mean, that's essentially what she's saying. And she does that thing, her head will start shaking back and forth. She looks like one of the Fry kids back from McDonald Land, and then her eyes just start twitching uncontrollably because she has no idea what she's doing. Now, as far as when they found the initial documents on November 2nd, and now they're saying that we did everything right, we turned it over, we've been completely transparent, well, that is coming into question. How are you being completely transparent when you've known about this for 2 months, and it's just now coming out because it broke in the media?
Do you acknowledge that the fact that the White House did not reveal this to the public, despite the fact that you've known about it for months, undercuts the president's promise of being transparent with the American people?
But here's the thing. They were transparent. There was transparency in doing what you're supposed to do when these items were discovered.
Yeah, when you get caught, you turned over the documents. You said, yeah, you got me here. But it was 2 months after the fact before anybody knew about it. Because why? There was an election a few days later. If this had broken days before the election, this would be a controversy. It would be a scandal. It might have affected the turnout.
The American people.
Look, I am here standing in front of you answering these questions, right? The president...
Are you, though? Are you answering the questions?
Took 2 questions this week on this. You've heard... Wait, let me just answer. You've heard from the White House counsel who put out multiple statements on this. And so, again, this is an ongoing process. We want to respect the process. And we have laid out very clearly what occurred. Again, don't want to get ahead of this. The Department of Justice, you all can will get your questions answered.
Yeah, okay.
I don't even know what the hell that means.
She never answers anything directly. It's always, we've talked about this. The president has talked about this. We've released a statement, and I'm answering your question, and we're not going to comment on that. It's under investigation. It's like, oh, Lord. Give me a break. 683-0989. We're going to get Ron Hart in here. We're going to get his perspective on it in a little bit. Coming up next, though, I do want to get into this story. It is a top story here in Memphis throughout the Mid-South. Men are impersonating the police and carjacking folks. This happened at a Memphis hotel, the old Hilton, the East Memphis Hilton, I'm told. Good Lord. Let's get into this and a few more local headlines. We'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, welcome back to the Nation of Jake.
Yes, have some.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. 683-0989, the Rick's Powder Coating text line. 683-0989. How do you think all this classified document stuff shakes out? You've got an investigation into Donald Trump for mishandling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, and then you've got Joe Biden now being investigated for mishandling of classified documents in his garage. It's funny, I saw somebody asking about GarageGate, and I was like, wait, wouldn't you want to call it Garage-a-Lago? I think Garage-a-Lago sounds way better than GarageGate. Just because if we're going to try to keep it, somewhat balanced here, you have Mar-a-Lago, Garage-a-Lago. So let's get on the same page. Maybe that
also, garages don't have gates; they have doors.
They do have doors. They also don't have lagos either. But still, I think Garage-a-Lago sounds way better. Or maybe we can work in the whole Corvette deal, the whole Corvette standard of security. Amazing. All of this is amazing, but we will turn our attention inward right here to Memphis and Shelby County, West Tennessee, the region. Let's get into some local headlines here, as we do in the Nation of Jake. Keep it official here on the Nation of Jake News Network. Oh, we got reports here that a group of police imposters carjacked people outside of a Memphis hotel, according to MPD. MPD tweeted out a public safety announcement informing citizens of the imposters' activities. According to police, 6 men in 2 different cars approached people at the Hilton Hotel on Ridge Lake Boulevard around 30 p.m. on Wednesday, January 11th. That would be yesterday. And that's the East Memphis Hilton, right? The group was armed and pretended to be police, but then carjacked those people. The victims had minor injuries and were treated at the scene. Memphis police are working to track down these fake cop carjackers. If you know who these men are, anything about the crime, of course, Crime Stoppers, 901-528-CASH. But of course, there's always the possibility that these were actual cops carjacking people. So I think that the DA, Steve Mulroy, should call up the TBI and just to make sure. I mean, if there's anything awry, if anything's going on, if any funny business, because there's always the non-zero chance that they weren't impersonating cops, that they were actually cops. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Steve Mulroy call the TBI and investigate the police. So that's one of your top stories of the day here. But that's not, you don't need that. Look, we already have enough problems with crime and people evading arrests, running from the cops, trying to drive into the cops. If you've got people impersonating police, it's going to make people not want to stop when they are pulled over by actual police. That could be a big damn problem. Also, big story today, a feel-good follow-up story. Ja Morant tried to. I don't think that he's able to make things right with 11-year-old Ellie Hughes. All right, Ellie Hughes, 11 years old, has been collecting autographs on her Grizzlies basketball for 5 years, going to all the games with her grandfather. We heard about Ellie Hughes yesterday.
When my grandfather was walking up there to see what was going on, they started walking away, kind of running at a fast pace. I just want my ball back. I just want the signatures back.
She just wants her ball back. Well, Ja Morant heard about it, and we knew this was going to happen. We called it yesterday, didn't we? That Ja Morant was going to step up, and he did. After last night's 135-129 win over the Spurs, Ja Morant found Ellie Hughes, gave her his Ja ones, signed the shoes, handed them over along with his game-worn jersey in an attempt to make it right. But he didn't make it right because he didn't do anything wrong. Ja Morant was under no obligation to do this, and still an injustice happened. A couple of grown men stole an autographed basketball from a little girl in RUNNOFT. All right, it's not right yet until those guys are brought to justice. All right, it's very nice of Ja Morant to do what he did. The man knows how to spread goodwill, but the only way to make it right is to find these guys and ban them from the FedEx Forum, and maybe charge them with theft. And maybe make up some other stuff, too. We got some other headlines coming up, but we don't have time. We don't have time. We will talk to Ron Hart next. The big story of the day, of course. More classified documents, this time in Joe Biden's garage next to his Corvette. We'll talk about the double standard with Mar-a-Lago and Garage-a-Lago. And we'll do it with Ron Hart next right here in the Nation of Jake. The girl is crafty like ice is cold.
Yes, have some.
Welcome back to the Nation of Jake News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. 683-0989, 683-0989. That is the Rick's Powder Coating text line. We will get to your texts when we wrap up the show in a little bit, but we're not there yet, okay? We're not there yet. We don't want to wish any time away because this is some of the best time of the week right now. It's Thursday. We talked to Ron Hart. He's a nationally syndicated columnist. I read his stuff over at thedailycaller.com. Ron, welcome back to the Nation of Jake. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Except the
All right,
Tigers
hey.
lost last night. How
Yeah.
disappointing was that?
Yeah, double overtime loss for the Tigers. That I don't want to think about that. That is a game they should have won, Ron.
Yeah, now, but 2-12-4 teams. That was the implications for the conference. Davis is such a good player, but he should have driven in the lane, not shot a 3-point when you're tied up with seconds left. You shoot a 3-pointer. There's no need for that. Just run in there. They were fouling like crazy. That was a complete mental error there. But he's such a good player and such a great addition. So you can't complain.
You want the ball in his hands for sure. So hey Ron, I got a quick question for you, man. Where do you keep all your important documents, like all your vital records? Like, do you have a place for those, or how do you store your important documents?
Yeah, kind of blockchain in the cloud. I put some underneath the bed, some in the oven, some in the attic. The redneck blockchain.
How many do you have? How many do you have in your garage, for instance?
I got a lot of classified documents out there. I'd like to, go. Yeah, it's unbelievable, Biden. And the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party is just so blatant. And I just don't see how they actually look themselves in the mirror and, go after Trump for such a thing. They put 30 FBI agents with automatic rifles on a pre-dawn raid of Donald Trump, again, with no criminal record, no violent past. And they tip off CNN and other news channels, that are friendly to them. And they go in there and arrest them ceremoniously. Same thing they did with Roger Stone. Same thing they did with another 80-year-old guy, Manafort. And it's just so one-sided. So hopefully there'll be, look, it's all kind of silly because I've been in government. I worked in Washington, D.C. when I was at Georgetown. They don't have any secrets. They say they got secrets, classified documents. Look at these people. What do they know that we don't know? These are very smart people. I think these classified documents are just way overrated.
Well, I mean, what I think though, Ron, when I was looking at it the other day, when this initially broke about President Biden having classified documents in this think tank office, which again, I mean, we can dive into why Vice President Biden at the time, he got an office at the Capitol for this think tank. And so he's just hanging out. Like, I guess that's what former vice presidents do. They just hang out until they get to the next gig, right? So
you knew the office building. You knew the office building was his because the elevator didn't go to the top.
So he's got this office and he's got these classified documents there, right? So we initially hear about this, then immediately all the news organizations, they want to say this is way different than Mar-a-Lago. This is completely different because President Trump had these classified documents and he wouldn't give them back, whereas Joe Biden had fewer classified documents and his lawyers turned them over immediately. So they're not even comparable when this first broke. And now we're reading about how Joe Biden had them in his garage. He doesn't even know what they were. Ron, this is really the question I'm getting to. What's worse, a former president who had the declassification power of these documents in a dispute with the National Archives, or a former vice president who did not have the declassification power, not even knowing that he had the documents, didn't know where they were, what they are, and they end up in his garage next to his Corvette? What's worse?
Right. The way that Trump explains it, and I kind of believe he's probably telling the truth here, is it's a lot higher bar for a vice president. He's not supposed to have the documents. The president has the ability to declassify, right, like you said. So he pretty much anything he has, he can have, right? And basically, Vice President, Biden didn't have that, power. So the law is much tougher on him, Merrick Garland, if you're going to be fair, and you're not going to be fair because you don't go after Democrats, you only go after Republicans. But if you were going to be fair, you would go after Biden. I think neither one need to be going after, by the way. I'm not this person like some drunk girl at a bar, encouraging two guys to fight. I'm not that person, but the Democrats can't have it both ways. They can't use the blunt force of government to go after enemies like Trump and others and not use it on the same thing that their people do. I mean, it just shows how bad they are and how political they are and why they need to be put out of office.
Oh, yeah, it's a complete double standard, I think. I think that's what people are upset about here, is that they were saying that the Mar-a-Lago documents, that scandal by Donald Trump was worse than Watergate. Well, if this is anywhere near the Mar-a-Lago, this garage-a-lago, then President Biden, as a sitting president, if it's worse than Watergate, as they said for a year, then doesn't President Biden have to resign as a result?
Yeah, and I think the funniest thing here is the fact that Biden has a think tank. I mean,
yeah,
can you imagine him sitting there just trying to think? There's somebody have to come up and kind of rattle him like a record player or something, just to make sure he's still operating.
Ron, you've worked in D.C. before. What does happen there? Like you have a think tank,
Nothing.
You have an office. Is that just a place where Joe Biden can set up shop and retain some legitimacy as the former vice president? And what's he do? Does he just go out and raise money? Does he just go out and just be an ambassador for the University of Pennsylvania brand?
Like Cato. Yeah, Cato's, a lot of them are legitimate. Heritage Foundation, Cato. There's Brookings Institute. There's some pretty big, and I donate to Cato. I mean, it's a libertarian think tank. They do some interesting pieces. They hire some interesting people who do some interesting work. But for the most part, it's just a way to raise money, like Clinton Foundation to ex-donors as you're kind of waiting in the green room to go back into politics. It's Washington D.C. is a cesspool. You look at someone like Adam Schiff or Swalwell in these knuckleheads on these Senate intelligence committees. If there's any classified information, they go to the cameras and tell CNN, whisper to a producer to CNN at any moment. They don't have that much. Our troop movements, I mean, who cares? I mean, so these are, I think if Trump did take documents, and I don't blame him, because he had this whole government out, had the FBI after him, CIA after him. I mean, he had probably to protect himself just to make sure, take documents to make sure they don't use them against him. Things they have done against him, and for his own personal preservation. I bet if Trump took anything, it had to do with his own. Of course, it's all about Trump anyway. We all know that. But I can't totally blame him the way he was treated by Washington. That I would take a few, documents that. Smoking gun documents that you could have for the, to go back to the FBI or the CIA or whoever decides, DOJ, whoever decides to come after you. I could totally see him doing that.
All right, Ron Hart is here. His latest column is over at thedailycaller.com. We're going to talk more about the news of the day, these classified documents that were found in President Joe Biden's garage next to his Corvette. Now, Peter Ducey from Fox News, I don't know if you've seen or heard this clip yet, Ron, but this is the clip of the day. Peter Ducey asks the question of Joe Biden, and man, he did not like it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay. Classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
So
but anyway,
was in a locked garage.
Yes, as well as my Corvette.
All right, so it seems like President Biden right there, Ron, is saying that his Corvette is so secure in a locked garage that you could keep classified documents there. It's so secure.
Yeah, sounds like that's okay. They should hold up with Merrick Garland. That's all he really needs to hear right now. This is just a pass on prosecuting this. And I think they're so mad at Biden about this thing. They're going to go arrest DeSantis in Florida over this.
Yeah, they're so mad about this. They're going to pin it on DeSantis. Common refrain.
Exactly.
Now,
DeSantis had to have something to do with it, or it could be actually, it could be global warming. It could be caused by that because there was a time you could keep stuff in your garage when things were cooler. But now that things are warm, you really can't keep it in the garage anymore. So you got to blame it on social justice or global warming. I think that's probably
you could do that.
That's only I could really pin it on.
Another clip I have is from a guy that you and I are very familiar with, having both lived in the state of Georgia, and we've seen the antics of Hank Johnson, Congressman Hank Johnson. This is the guy, and you know the clip I'm referencing, when he asked a question about Marines going to the island of Guam, and he was concerned it would tip over. He thinks, Ron, that maybe these documents were planted on Joe Biden.
My response to it all is that alleged classified documents showing up allegedly in the possession of Joseph Biden, there's so much that needs to be investigated, and that's what I call for, is for everything to be investigated. But I'm suspicious of the timing of it. I'm also aware of the fact that things can be planted on people. Places and things can be planted
Yeah, soak in plants, soak in flowers. They can be planted too, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Good
You
Lord,
can also
this
plant
is
your feet on Guam. So
yeah, exactly.
You
can, and it'll tip over. So yeah, you've got. I mean, right now it appears that people are losing their minds. They were talking about potentially planted evidence on The View today, and now here's something that I mentioned earlier, and I'll run it by you, Ron. Every time something like this happens, whether it's Afghanistan or classified documents being mishandled, the way that the media covers this is that this becomes a problem for Joe Biden. This is a headache for Joe Biden. That somehow
the
this is not
optics aren't good. They'll say the optics aren't good. The timing's bad.
Republicans
But
pounce.
they never really dig into it. Yeah.
Well, it's also they never blame the guy who did it. They say things like it's going to be a political problem for Joe Biden, and it's like, well, hold on a second. If the guy, I don't care if he misplaced them or if it was a mistake, they were mishandled, and so you have to treat it the same way you did as you have with the Mar-a-Lago investigation, right?
Well, they never treated Hillary Clinton when she had classified information on a server and lied about it. It also went to Anthony Weiner, ended up on his his laptop. No telling what's on that laptop. And then his wife, I can't think of her name.
Hillary's assistant.
Yeah, I mean, so they're all over the place, and at the end of the day, unless you're selling them to Russia or China or something like that, again, Senate intelligence. Look at these people. How much intelligence do they really have? All right, they're all third-rate politicians, flat hand. These aren't real thinkers. There's no more Sam Nunns. There's no more brilliant people in the Senate that are really doing important work. They're all campaigning and raising money every day and trying to go on CNN, right, every day. And if they're saying they planted documents on Biden, next move in the Democrat playbook is get 50 ex-CIA or FBI directors to write a one-page, to sign a one-page document saying it's Russian disinformation, and they run an article in the New York Times, right? That's what they do. The same thing they did with the Hunter Biden laptop. They get 50 Brenner and Clapper and these old knuckleheads, the best of the Democrat Party hacks, sign any document and put in front of them and say the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation right before the election. To give them credit, what little credibility they have, they should have none. But any credibility they had in the past should be all gone. That would be the next move, to have a few intelligence people say that it was planted on him or it's normal or whatever. They normalize what they do. So I hope the American people see it. I'm glad you're bringing it up, and I think people in Memphis understand this.
All right, Ron Hart, before we go, a couple things. Your latest column, tell us about it real quick.
I'll talk about McCarthy, the Senate, the congressional House majority winning. 15 votes, but the Republican Party has robust debate. They got the pro-life, pro-choice, hawks, doves, libertarians, religious right. You have a lot of people in the big tent in the Republican Party that fight things out. That's the way things should be. Conversely, the Democrats never argue about anything. They're lemmings. They're told what to do by their leadership. They vote on what they're told to vote on. I don't see how they can be proud of themselves. They advance no brilliant ideas. Nancy Pelosi, I know we all miss her. She's no longer a majority. Now, they offered her a job of the minority whip, and she said no, pass. But it sounds like something my husband may like. So.
All right, and Ron, is there a link anywhere? Where can people find your stand-up comedy? I saw your stand-up routine the other day online, and I wanted to make sure if people were interested, they could find it.
I think if you go to my ronaldhart.com, maybe it's not there, but it's a YouTube. I don't really know where it is. Just Google Ron Hart. It'll come up. Ron Hart.
You know what? I'm gonna find the link in my email, and I'm gonna link it up. I'm gonna share it on the Nation of Jake Facebook page so people can check out your stand up. I know you're working it out on the stage. It's pretty good, pretty solid stuff, Ron.
I'm a low tech redneck. I gotta get my tech game better somehow. I'm working on that.
All right, my man. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
All right.
There you go. Ron Hart, his latest column is at thedailycaller.com. We'll catch up with him again next week. All right. Few minutes left on the Rick's Powder Coating text line. I'll get to your comments. Also, we'll get an update on Lisa Marie Presley, who reportedly suffered a heart attack, had to be revived with epinephrine, went into full cardiac arrest. We will see what the story is there, as well as any late-breaking news we can get ahead of for tomorrow's program. That's all coming up next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, tomorrow on the program.
Yes, have some.
Yeah, we'll be back in full force with the karaoke night. We'll do some hate mail. Also, you on the Rick's Powder Coating text line at 683-0989. A day like today, I mean, you just got to thank a guy like Joe Biden for doing something so goofy, like even classified documents in your garage next to your Corvette, and then justifying it saying, well, it's locked. My Corvette's in there. It's amazing. What an amazing day for breaking news. There was also plenty of local news. We've got guys who are impersonating cops and carjacking people right in the middle of the day at the East Memphis Hilton. I guess it was yesterday at 2:30 in the afternoon. Unbelievable. And then this other story, Lisa Marie Presley suffered a heart attack, cardiac arrest, according to TMZ. The headline, Lisa Marie Presley suffers cardiac arrest, rushed to hospital, ex-husband performed CPR. And no, it was not Michael Jackson. Although Michael Jackson is an ex-husband of Lisa Marie Presley. I'll never forget that as long as I live. That kiss at whatever award show that was. What was that? The MTV Movie Awards? No, it was Danny Keough who administered CPR. We've got constant updates here. The story that was posted around lunchtime, Lisa Marie Presley has been rushed to a hospital after EMTs responded to her home for a possible cardiac arrest. Sources directly connected to Lisa Marie tell TMZ that paramedics performed CPR Thursday at her house in Calabasas, California, before rushing to a hospital. We're also told they were able to regain a pulse before she was transported. Then the updates start coming in. Lisa Marie Presley allegedly went into full cardiac arrest, and they administered epinephrine at the scene at least one time in order to help Presley regain a pulse. Was that epinephrine? Was that, look, I don't want to imply anything here, but this all I can think of is the scene in Pulp Fiction, which this is like the third time this week that Pulp Fiction has been referenced. Why is that? It's a 30-year-old movie. So is that what they used, or was that adrenaline?
I thought that was adrenaline.
Okay, it's not epinephrine. An EpiPen. Got it. But I thought an EpiPen was like if you're having an allergic reaction. Because I remember my wife was insistent that we bought these really expensive EpiPens, even though my kid wasn't allergic to anything. So either way, we've got some more updates. Priscilla arrived to the hospital to be by her daughter's side. A source with direct knowledge says that Lisa Marie's housekeeper found her unresponsive in her bedroom. About the same time, Lisa Marie's ex-husband, Danny Keough, got home from taking the kids to school and performed the CPR until paramedics arrived. Danny and Lisa have been living together for quite some time now, according to TMZ. So that's what we have, and a lot of people are speculating about what could cause a 54-year-old woman to go into cardiac arrest. I don't know if she had any kind of condition that would have led to this, and I don't want to speculate because that would be irresponsible. So 683-0989. Well, I'm getting memes. I'm getting texts. I'm getting photos, and some are referencing Lisa Marie. Look, we wish Lisa Marie Presley the best. She was just, I think Priscilla was there. I think Lisa Marie was there as well. She was just in Memphis the other day for Elvis's birthday. Her dad's birthday, January 8th. On Sunday, they had the celebration. And again, I don't know why Elvis gets his birthday and death birthday celebrated. I'm told by Paul on the Rick's Powder Coating text line, who's pretty reliable. If this is the real Paul, the producer, we've got epinephrine and adrenaline are the same thing, he says. Or maybe, yeah, okay, I'll look it up. But I don't doubt that is exactly it. When you go into cardiac arrest, you need something. Get you going again. So best wishes to Lisa Marie Presley, the Presley family, the Keoughs. All right, tomorrow on the program, again, karaoke night, hate mail, and whatever the hell else we want to do. This is our show down here